With only 6 episodes left in the entire series, the second episode of the 8th and final season of Game of Thrones had a lot of groundwork to lay down as the show comes to an end. From Arya's big moment to Brienne's new title, let's talk about the second episode of Game of Thrones' final season and what it all means. When Jaime Lannister turns up at Winterfell to help in the fight against the incoming army of the dead, he doesn't exactly receive a warm welcome, and it's no wonder why. Not only is Jaime forced to face down Bran, the boy he once tried to murder when Bran caught Jaime sleeping with his queen and sister, but he also has to come face to face with Daenerys, whose father he successfully murdered, despite being a member of the Kingsguard and swearing to protect him. Meanwhile, Sansa Stark is still angry at Jaime for turning on her own father, Ned Stark, during their shared time in King's Landing. But in the end, his friend and ally Brienne of Tarth stands up for the Kingslayer, convincing Sansa to allow Jaime to stay safely in Winterfell. Jaime may still be guilty of plenty, but it looks like he'll live to fight another day. Chances are good that the mercy shown by both Sansa and Daenerys will have lasting effects on the conflicts to come as the series wraps up over the next few episodes. Now that the two leaders have found some common ground, it's possible they'll find a way to work together to unite the Seven Kingdoms. Then again, after realizing that Sansa needed to be convinced to accept her new queen, Daenerys sits down alone with the eldest Stark and Lady of Winterfell in the second episode, determined to win over the stoic survivor and explain what she hopes to accomplish during her time in Westeros. The meeting seems to go well at first. Sansa even cracks a smile and the two join hands as they talk about Jon. But it all eventually goes south when Sansa makes it clear that she doesn't want to relinquish the North's claim for independence once Daenerys takes the Iron Throne, leaving things just as tense as they were before their chat. Daenerys' intentions might be good, but it's unlikely that she'll ever fully impress anyone in the North, making it that much harder for her to unite Westeros under her rule. Daenerys may think she has Jon's loyalty, but given how the other lords of the North view Sansa, that may not end up being enough to keep hold on the region in the end. On the eve of one of the most frightening and difficult battles throughout the entire run of Game of Thrones, the characters prepare for the conflict to come during what might be their very last night alive, and everybody deals with it in completely different ways. While some, like Tyrion and Tormund, drink heavily, others sing one last song, and some achieve goals they've worked towards for their entire lives. Brienne of Tarth in particular has a banner night when Jaime anoints her as the first female knight in all of the Seven Kingdoms, in one of the final season's most emotional moments to date. Aside from Brienne's new title, audiences are given a quieter yet still incredibly tense episode in the build-up to one of the series' most ambitious battles yet, when a seemingly unbeatable army of the dead arrives to take Winterfell. Even though some fans might have been disappointed by the lack of action, the episode let viewers spend a thoughtful and often funny hour with some of their favorite characters, some of whom probably won't be around after the next episode's enormous battle. Over the course of 7 seasons, viewers have watched as Arya Stark has grown from a small, feisty tomboy to a fearless, faceless warrior willing to mow down anything in her path. Now that she has finally returned home to Winterfell and joined her family, Arya is truly in her element. During the 8th season premiere, she reunites with Gendry, her old friend working as a smith in Winterfell's forge, asking him to make a new custom weapon, a request which is as close to Arya will probably ever get to flirting. On the night before the battle with the Night King, Arya makes a somewhat surprising decision, visiting Gendry to pick up a new spear and then seducing him, so that she can know what it's like to be with a man before the day breaks and the battle begins. Besides serving as an incredible example of one of the show's most powerful female characters taking control of her sexuality and exercising her autonomy, it also calls back to something that King Robert Baratheon said in Game of Thrones' very first episode about joining houses with Ned Stark between Ned's daughter and Robert's son. King Robert was referring to Joffrey and Sansa, but since Gendry is actually Robert's bastard son and Arya is also Ned's daughter, it seems as if the late King's prediction has come true after all this time. There's still plenty of secrets left to be revealed on Game of Thrones, but one of the series' biggest bombshells, specifically the one concerning Jon Snow's real heritage, was blown wide open during the 8th season premiere when Sam broke the news to his stunned friend, who had to grapple with the fact that he's the actual rightful heir to the Iron Throne. Not to mention that his new girlfriend is actually his aunt. After spending his life assuming that he was nothing more than Ned Stark's bastard son, Jon now has to consider the very real possibility that he could rule all of Westeros, since his parents, Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen, were rightfully married, making him a legitimate royal. Obviously, this creates plenty of awkwardness between Jon and Daenerys, who only recently consummated their new relationship. But awkward family reunions aside, Jon breaking the news to Daenerys about his real name and potential title throws another wrench into the proceedings. Daenerys, whose single goal throughout the series series has been to take the Iron Throne, now has another rival to contend with whom she has inconveniently fallen in love. Now that both characters know that the humble, supposedly lowborn Jon Snow is actually Aegon Targaryen, Daenerys might turn on him entirely, setting up a huge conflict between two of the show's most important characters. In terms of moments that'll have lasting effects through the final episode of the series, keep this encounter in the Stark Crypt fresh in your mind. The conflict between Jon and Daenerys may be on hold while they fight for the survival of the human race, but once the Night King melts into a puddle of goo, expect the full repercussions of this conversation to become much more clear in the light of day. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about Game of Thrones are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.